Hello, and welcome to My Story Matters Monday. I am Alex Cardoza, and I will be bringing you my story today. So, I came to know Jesus when I was in high school. But first of all, we have to go back in time. I grew up going to church. I was raised in the Catholic Church by my parents, who were very strict Catholics, my dad especially. Love you, Dad, if you're seeing this. I do love you completely. But yeah, I am glad that they rose me up in the faith of Christianity in some form. So I am happy for that. But it really wasn't until I got into high school that I started to actually take my faith seriously. And before then, and even some into high school, I had some struggles that made it a little bit harder to carry on in faith and find faith in Jesus, because I don't know what it was, but okay, here we go. Vulnerable deep talk time. Here we go. So essentially, when I was, I don't know what age, maybe 12, for some reason, I began to get into a bit of a pornography addiction. It was not good for me, and I knew I was hiding things from my parents and my grandparents, and it was something that I didn't know why it really started, other than seeing something in a store one time, and from there it was a spiral of not good. But anyway, I had kept it locked away inside of me for upwards of nearly 5 years, and was afraid to tell anyone because I knew they would be ashamed, or at least I thought they would be. But it was around my junior year of high school, about 4 or 5 years after it started, that I was just not in a good place mentally, especially because this had started to take a toll on me, and the fact that I was aware of my sin but wasn't stopping it at the time, or at least not continuously stopping it, and it's something I still struggle with today. But it was when I was a junior in high school that I began to want to take life more seriously, take my relationship with Christ more seriously, and even before that process started, I was struggling through anxiety, and I suffered a mental breakdown on the night of a basketball game in high school, and I couldn't play because I just don't know what happened. I just started crying, just like outside on the benches at my high school, and my best friend was there, who had always been there for me during high school, and we don't talk as much, but I am glad that she was there to help comfort me in a way. And for a while, I dealt with anxiety and nervous thoughts and bad thoughts for a time, and it's something that stuck with me for a couple years, until there was, I believe it was maybe a couple months later, was then when I told my dad about the addiction to pornography and that issue I was having. I found it hard at first to try and tell him, because I was like shaking, and I was literally feeling like physically sick from it for a time. But when I told him, it felt like a weight had been taken off my chest, and it took me several months, even a couple years, to forgive myself for what I had done. Even though I know God had forgiven me, I never felt like I could truly forgive myself. But it was in my senior year of high school that I really started to take my relationship with Christ seriously, and I don't remember the exact moment that I decided it, to give my life to Christ and be saved, but I just remember going into the library at my high school, and my best friend's mom was the librarian. And I remember her and then the other librarian were there, and I remember saying to them, I want to give my life to Christ today. I want to be saved today. And I don't know what triggered it, but it just did. And I've been walking with him ever since. And it was, I think, later that year that my high school had a camp up in like the mountains, and so I decided to get baptized, re-baptized technically, because I was baptized as a baby because Catholicism. Woo. But I rededicated my life to him when I was probably, I think it was 17, just about to turn 18, and it was the start of something that began to be a path to recovery from the struggles I went through with the pornography addiction and those bad thoughts that came from it, and just the feeling that I couldn't forgive myself for what I had done. But after a couple years of being out of high school and going to community college for a bit, I was doing better. I was getting into a better place, even if maybe I was removed from people that I was comfortable around. But I was doing well for a while, and then I came to Vanguard. I was about to finish my first year, and then COVID hit. That happened. Spring of my junior year? Yeah, junior year. I just remember being in my room on campus and hearing about that, and then I was like, oh, it's not gonna be long. Little did we know, and here we are now. But needless to say, after time in COVID, isolation, quarantine, whatever, just because everyone was for those first couple months, I don't know what it was, but that summer after COVID started, I went into another nervous breakdown, and it was something that hung around with me for quite a bit of the fall semester of the year following. Well, it was last year, a year ago last year, that I was not in a good place again, and I don't know what triggered it, but it just seemed like the thoughts were just racking me continuously. Bad thoughts, nervous thoughts, thoughts of the pornography, thoughts of whatever disturbing thing. And I don't know what it was that kicked it in, but for a while I started going to therapy again, even though it was on Zoom and it wasn't super great. But I did get some help through there. But then after a while, after something that the therapist had said to me that kind of ticked me off, I decided that I wasn't going to go through any more of those therapy sessions anymore, and that I went and talked with a doctor back home, and he prescribed to me some anxiety medicine. And that, and also just continuously walking with Christ as I am coming here to Vanguard and am being surrounded by people who love and care for me, and people who are willing to walk beside me in my relationship with Christ. It's something that I know that I'm getting better, and that I'm definitely in a better place than I was last year. And it's something that I'm just continuously striving more and more to get better at, learning more about Christ, delving more into the Word, striving to become more like Him. But also a big part of my testimony that I have to put out here is the impact that Legacy Church has had in my life. Shout out to Pastor Kyle. You are the best. But yeah, I know part of my testimony would not be complete without what this church has meant to me. I started going there about just before COVID started, actually. just before COVID started is when I started going to Legacy. The second week that they were open as a church. And another shout out coming. But I remember that I was looking for a church down here, and I didn't know how long I'd be down here. But I remember one Sunday I didn't have a ride to the church I was going to be going to. So I happened to be just sitting outside at the point in between Balboa and Newport, those little stone benches, if no one knows what that's called. If you know what the point is, props to you. But anyway, I was sitting out there waiting for my ride to go to this other church, and I remember sitting there, and then my buddy Isaac Isom, good sir, you better watch this just cuz. This man walks out and says, "Hey, I'm going to Legacy. You want to come?" I say, "Sure." I hop in the car. Needless to say, I've been at Legacy for nearly 2 years now. And it's been a great experience of getting to get involved there at the church and beginning to get more and more involved. And also just continuing to tie in the fact of how much the church has meant to me and how I've been encouraged to step into my relationship with Christ. I can't continue this conversation without mentioning the fact of the friends that I've been surrounded with within the past year. Alpha, Moko, Michaela, all y'all know who I'm talking about. But I've been able to be surrounded by them too, and just be able to have them in my life and be a big part of helping to push me to become more like Christ and to get more into my word and pray and all of that. And they're at Legacy too, so everything just kind of interweaves at this point. And so it's been a really great opportunity to know these people and getting to be a part of this church and continuing to be a part of the church. And within the last year, I've really started to delve more into reading the Bible. And so even though there's times where I may lapse and forget to read on a day or two or three or four, I am doing my best to get back to it. And of course, then this is something new, but it's something that I am glad that it has become part of my life. Shout out to my girlfriend Marilyn. You are really great, and I am glad to know that you are trying to grow in your relationship with Christ as well as I am, and you're helping to push me to become more like Christ and to make sure I get into my Bible no matter what. I am here now. This is my last semester here at Vanguard. Not entirely ready to leave, but I know God has good things ahead for me, even if I have no clue what they are. But I know there's good things ahead. So thank you for this time. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to all the SFD crew for this opportunity to be able to share my story. As messy and broken and flipped around and whatever it may have been, it's here. And it is part of my life, and God is still moving through me, like I probably said 100 times in this video. But yeah, just a little reminder to anyone out there who may be continuing to want to dive into their relationship with Christ, or maybe are trying to come to Christ for the first time. The second you get started, don't just expect everything to get better. It's a hard truth, but it is the truth. And ultimately, the way to go about seeing how God is speaking into your life and how maybe He's calling something out in you, get into the Word. Get into the Word every day, like I mentioned earlier, as something that I'm trying to strive to do better, and there's things that I know I'm still working on, and that anyone that you talk to that's a Christian is working on. But getting into the Word, praying, all of that every day. It's important. So remember that. May God bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you. I'm not going to sing the blessing right now. But yeah. So thank you for watching My Story Matters. Ha!